Attention parents, does it feel like your kids just aren't listening to you today? There are so many distractions with our school, with social media. There's so many ways that our kids just get distracted, and communication can be very tough. And I know you as a parent wants what's best for your kids. You want them to grow up in a safe, wonderful environment and be successful in every way. How can we teach them those principles that you're wanting to teach them? Well, my guest today, Sharon Leino, you've got to listen to this interview today. She has come up with a book series that she calls The Adventures in Lusair, and they are wonderful at teaching kids principles that you've been wanting to teach them, all about fear, all about not listening, all about anger, and all about grieving. Again, you've got to listen to this interview today. You're going to be introduced to some really powerful books that can help you as a parent to teach your kids these skills. Be sure and tune in. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Resilience Talk with Brad Neufeld. I've got an awesome guest here today, and as I said in my monologue, you're going to want to hear about these, especially if you have kids. Sharon Leino has written some awesome books that's going to be able to help you with this, and they're cute too. Is that a good word for it, Sharon? You've got some.
Well, I think it is. The children seem to enjoy it. They're not lecture or step-by-step books. They're just fun adventure books that have different principles in them.
And I love, matter of fact, we can get into the names that you've come up with for these books, but they're called The Adventures of Lusair, The Adventures in Lusair, forgive me. And they're a 4-book series, of which 3 have been published so far. So you've got another one coming up, and hopefully we'll talk about that today. But they're chapter books geared for kids ages 8 to 12. And they deal with issues that all children face, like fear, not listening, anger, and grieving. And that's still the book that's to come out, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Well, these books show how children need good friends who will help them with these issues, the needs for adult support, for imagination. You mentioned imagination is very important in problem solving, and which it is, because I think that's one of the things that kids have not been doing much anymore, is just stopping and pausing and thinking. Well, let's before we get into the books, why don't we talk a little bit about yourself, Sharon? What led up to this? What are some of the things that have happened in your life that, because I know you've been a teacher, you've worked in the mental health industry. What led you to write these books?
My husband and I retired, and we were retired in southern Texas. And I was only 50 at the time, and I thought, I'm really too young to retire. I need to find something else to do. So I found a couple of writers groups who really started me in writing stories before I had written poetry as a youth. But I guess during those times that I wrote that poetry, I was very emotional. And after my dad died, I threw them all away. Don't ask me why, but as a young person, I just did that. But the writers in Texas reignited the desire to write. But it came to an ending a few years later because my husband was losing his sight, and we had to focus on helping him with this challenge. And I had written a story in these groups, and I put it away, and I put it away for 20 years. While we decided to move to Florida for certain care for his glaucoma, and for the schools for the blind, and seeing eye dog, all those things that we were proactive in really helped him. And when it led to we had a great life together, even through his blindness. And when he died, I really missed him. And I asked the Lord, I said, what am I going to do now?
Yeah.
Because I was a caregiver for 15 years. Not only was he blind, but he had to have dialysis for his kidneys. And a week later, a friend of mine sent me an invitation to a writing retreat, and it was at Richard Paul Evans Ranch. It was
Beautiful,
only
by
a
the way.
week. Yeah, it was only a week away. And so I contacted them to see if I could go, and they said yes. And so I went. And come to find out later, though, the people who were at that retreat had to be a year with Richard in learning how to write. Well, after the retreat, he also has a online author ready where he has classes. And so I took the classes and I wrote and rewrote and rewrote and rewrote
And maybe
until,
one more time other than that, right?
right, until Scaredy was done.
And
And
Scarity's one of your books, one of the books that we'll talk about here in a minute.
yes, and once I finished writing that, then I learned that we had to learn how to market, which is a lot of work. And I'm still learning. And
Mhm.
he is still teaching us because we have a monthly meeting with him and he goes over marketing values. And he also had one of his people, Debbie Rasmussen, lead an author ready class each week where the writers get together, authors get together, and we critique each other's materials. And so that's how that all evolved. And I just say that God keeps opening doors, and he opened the door to Richard, and then it came to publishing. And that's hard to get into, to get published. And so he really encourages people to self-publish, but I didn't have that confidence.
Yeah.
And so I contacted Thea Rademacher at Flint Hills Publishing.
Mhm.
And at first she refused. I mean, I sent my material in and she said, no, not at this time.
Mhm.
But at the same time, she had on her website that she was an attorney. And if we had any questions, we could feel free to call for a fee. Well, I researched how to self-publish and I still had questions. So I called her. And after we talked for an hour, she said, well, I'm not going to charge you. She said, send me your material once again. And God opened the door and I have a publisher.
Oh, fantastic. Because, like you said, it really is hard. And I know for those people who don't know Richard Paul Evans, he's fantastic. He's written what, 45, 46 New York Times bestsellers. Uh,
Absolutely.
yeah, he's a great man, very creative, and he helps other people get books going too. So thank you for
He,
mentioning that.
well, he's a great mentor
Yeah.
and he really develops a family community of authors.
Mm.
And I have gone to 3 retreats. I'm going to one more. And
Nice.
each time I meet new authors from all over the country. And really, we stay in contact and we support each other. And that's one of his goals also.
Nice. Okay, so you just had this feeling of let me did your did the impression come when you were being a teacher or working in the mental health industry that you decided, you know what, there needs to be some books here for kids? And when did this I know before we got started here, you had talked that maybe during the pandemic that kind of triggered some things for you to help that brought you maybe some of these stories.
Yes, it did. I in my career life, I was too busy to think about writing, although I did write grants, a lot of grants for different projects, but creative writing I did not do. But after the pandemic, I started worrying about the children and their fears because I kept hearing that the children were becoming very fearful. And then there was a concern on the education where they had to be educated at home rather than in school. That was, a lot of turmoil. And then there just seems to be a lot of anger today. And, of course, children have these issues just like adults. And sometimes I think we forget that they can be fearful for reasons we don't understand. And they can be angry. And of course, not listening. Of course, the not listening sort of is about me.
Oh, is
Um,
it?
because when my husband was blind, he would talk a lot
Mhm.
all day long. And of course, I mean, I would listen, but after a while, it was like my mind would wander.
Mhm.
Um, and so he had to teach me, he would know when I wasn't listening. And so he had to teach me how to listen again.
Yes. Oh, that's great. Yeah, you're probably talking a lot, so he could always know where you are,
Yes,
huh?
yes. And we were together all the time because if I did leave him, he would sleep. And
Yes.
there wasn't anything for, although he did get into, I'll tell you, God is
Yeah,
really
please.
because when my husband went blind, I had to learn how to use the computer.
Mhm.
I had to learn how to do accounting. I am not good at numbers, but I had to learn. I had to learn to fix little things that he always did. So it really helped me to be independent, and it brought all those skills that I learned
Mhm.
together for now, in marketing especially.
Yes. Yeah, God works in mysterious ways. And I
Yeah.
usually have a plaque up here. I probably should have put it up, without God, I am nothing. So
I am the same.
awesome. So true. So now you've decided you're going to write these books. Tell us, and I like you to share this, Sharon, if it's okay, because I know there's a lot of people that listen to my podcast that want to become writers and they don't even know where to start. So what was your experience there? Did you have that same thing? It's like I feel like I want to write this. I'm getting inspirations, but yet where do I even start? Did
Right.
you, did
Well,
you go through that?
that's where Richard's classes really came into helping me to organize my material. And all people have to do is go to Author Ready,
Yep,
and there's
I'll
a
I'll put
lot,
it in the show notes down here. So for those of you, authorready.com. So yeah, good
right,
stuff.
because there's a lot of step-by-step um procedures that you can go through. And then you just have to have the time and have the initiative to let your imagination take you away.
Mhm.
Um,
Do you feel like we need to have kids or inspire kids to use their imaginations now?
oh, absolutely. The sad thing that I see is that so many kids are scheduled. They're scheduled for play dates. They're scheduled not only for school, but for after school activities. There's no time for them to be alone or to be quiet or to think. I think that we are missing that important feature in our kids today, whereas when I grew up, we had a lot of time because we had no TV, we had no computer, we had no iPhone. And
Mhm.
although those things are good and they're beneficial, they seem to have overtaken that time from our children where they really need to be creative, you know. I mean, if you don't have anything to do, well, let's think about what can we do? If you don't have any toys, let's go through the kitchen cupboard and see what we can do to make something fun, you
Right.
know. Um, so and reading, I think that children really need to learn to read. I know that in my schooling and in my experience with children, those children who read have a better language ability and
Absolutely.
therefore are able to be a lot more confident in a lot of things that they do.
Mhm. So your book series, The Adventures in Lusair. Let's see. The first one is Scaredy. And
Yes.
what's that book about?
Okay. This is Scaredy.
Perfect.
And
Thank you.
Scaredy is about Rudy, who is afraid of everything, from crossing a bridge to climbing a tree to it just life scares him completely. And to make matters worse, he has a friend, Billy, or he is being bullied by two children every day after school. But
That's
his
happening
friend,
in every school in America right now.
yes, but his friend Billy is always there to help protect him except the days he's in Taekwondo. And
Mhm.
so Rudy learns to run very, very fast. And so um, they decide to go fishing one day and they enter the woods on a shortcut that Billy has. And Rudy meets the Knight of Life. And the Knight of Life gives them a key to enter Lusair.
Mhm.
And Lusair has a problem. They think the world thinks evil is good and good is evil. And Billy and Rudy, in their adventure in Lusair, help that world to overcome and get the correct thinking. Um, and therefore, they overcome their own problems. Now,
Wow.
the characters'
Mhm.
pictures are in back of the book.
Yes.
We
Oh,
have
wow.
these two, Purloin, who
Mhm.
is a pest, and he says he doesn't steal, he only
Uh-huh.
borrows.
Okay.
We have Sagacious, who is always, he's a dragon, but he's always in the clouds.
Mhm.
We have Dinky, who is a dwarf, and every time he gets mad, he says diddly squat. We have Nipron, the quester, who is the caretaker of the earth,
Uh-huh.
and we have um, Rudy and Billy,
Uh-huh.
and we have, oops, where is he? We have the Knight of Light, who,
Knight of Light, Knight, correct? The
yes,
Knight. Okay.
he's the Knight of Light, and he always, in all three books, gives the children a key in order to get into Lusair. And he pops up every once in a while to encourage them on their quest. If I can only get the picture.
Mhm. It's there. It's there. I believe it. I feel it. It's coming.
Oh, here it is finally.
Nice.
It's the Knight of Light.
There he is. All right.
Yeah. So that's book one.
Mhm.
Shall I go
Okay.
on to book two?
Yeah, what's the next one? Let's see. Want to make sure I get the names. Wandering Ears. I'd like to know about this one.
Okay. We had a girl, Josie, to this book.
Mhm.
She doesn't listen. She doesn't follow directions. She thinks she knows everything. And she finishes her work in school before the teacher finishes the direction.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Yes. And she and Rudy enter into the land of Lusair after the Night of Light gives them the key. And they meet Matina, who is the princess of the Elmorts.
Mhm.
And their quest is to rescue the queen from an old evil Delph.
Mhm.
And the Elmort and Delph is explained in the book.
Yeah.
But in their quest, they not only have to rescue the queen, but eventually a bumbling quester named Lucas.
Mhm.
And in each of their adventures here, they have to learn to listen and listen and listen, and then follow directions. So the Delph keeps repeating certain words over and over and over. And because they're captured, Josie learns to listen very closely and solves the riddle as to where the queen is.
Okay.
And so the same thing when they learn to follow directions.
Wow. I know I could have used this. Well, all my kids are grown now, but I mean, my youngest just turned 21, but maybe I think they still even need that, don't they?
Well, I think we all do, because our attention tends to wander. I mean, we have so many things on our mind,
Yes.
and you know, so
Yeah, and
and
with
children
I
do too, whether it's, whether it's friends, homeworks, or whatever, their minds are busy running wild.
Mhm. I know. And then the final the most latest one you have is Tame That Flame.
Tame That Flame, it deals with Billy's anger. And what I did on the back of this book, which I think well, I think it's neat anyway, is I put the children's comments that have come to me about
Nice.
the previous books
Hmm.
that they've enjoyed. But Tame That Flame is about Billy's anger
Okay.
and Billy needing to learn how to handle that. And they go into Lusair because there is a lot of anger in Lusair, and there's a dragon burning up the land, and
Mhm.
there's different characters in this book too, but there's always Josie, Billy, and Rudy in all the books. And
Okay,
then,
that's what I was going to ask you. So they're same characters all throughout the book.
yes, but we have additional characters. Like in this book, there's Tuck the Guardian. It's the Guardian Wolf.
Mhm.
And we have Blowguards,
Mhm.
which are mean and have stolen the baby dragon. Um, we have the mother dragon, of course, who's very angry,
Absolutely.
burning up the land.
Mhm.
And so they go into the land, and then the Knight of Light is more involved in this book because in the end he is helping Nipron and Billy um, with Snivel, the
Mhm.
evil wizard, to send him back to the demon of chaos.
Because I could have used that tame the flame. I know a lot of people who know me, they I've been called all kinds of things, the big teddy bear, the comforter. I've been called all this stuff, and but I had anger issues when I was younger, and it stemmed from getting bullied, which I was very fascinated with the one book about being bullied, because that was something that was near and dear to me growing up. And then later on, when I grew up really fast as far as size wise. Actually grew like what was it, 11 inches in 1 year, and so I've only grown an inch since I was 13. So I got big, and
Oh,
I became the anti-bully, but the anger was coming out, and I was using that as as something to as a way of getting revenge from all those other people who used to tease me. But I learned at a very early age that's not something I want to do the rest of my life, and so this bullying really needs to get reeled in. And
right.
so I'm grateful for you to write this book so maybe kids can understand this.
Well, I
And
really understand the anger issue because at one point in my life, I was really angry and wanted vengeance. Um, I really wanted vengeance because my brother was killed.
oh
He was
man,
shot.
oh, I'm so sorry.
And it took years to overcome that anger and that hate and a lot of prayer. So I sort of understand the stages of anger um, more personally, so it was easier to write this book
Yeah,
and include a lot of things like there was there's a trampage, TRAMP, rage
Camp Rage.
tree
Oh, I love it. Okay.
that a bear breaks out of a tree, and
Mm-hmm.
it's because of a tramp rage spell.
Mm-hmm.
So I have those things, how anger can just flare up
Mm-hmm.
without you even thinking about it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I learned the hard way that the only person I was hurting by carrying the anger was me.
Correct, correct. And along with the anger, the fear comes in.
Yeah.
Somehow they seem to go hand in hand, and we develop a fear.
Hmm. Well, I had heard that. Not that we need to get into a deep psychological discussion here, but I had heard that one time from one of the therapists I had worked with was anger is a fear of loss.
Yeah.
We're afraid
Yes.
of that's like the last resort when we feel like we're going to lose something, is the anger comes in to try to hold on to it. And I thought, it's always been something that's ruminated in my awareness for for some time. And so I'm like, okay, what am I afraid of losing? But yeah, you're right on, Sharon. Those two go hand in hand. And I'm looking forward to your next book, the one on grieving. Do you have a title for it yet, or do you want to wait and surprise us later?
No, I don't have a title yet. I'm
Okay.
only halfway through, but Rudy does lose his grandmother,
Mm-hmm.
and he can't get over his grieving. And Josie and Billy try and help him, but he refuses help. He refuses to acknowledge hurt. He refuses to cry. And
Mm.
so they go into the land of Lusair, and Lusair is in trouble again because Nipron and Dinky are missing. And so they have to go through the valley of gloom, the jungle of despair, and there'll be different um, things that they will have to do to be able to overcome this grief and help Rudy. In all the books, the adventures, it's not only the adventures that help the children overcome their difficulties, it's their friends. Their friends also help them and point out things that maybe they don't want to hear at the time, but they eventually come to hear, or they support them. And I think that's one thing that we need to remember as parents. That's really important, that your children have good friends that are supportive of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I know those friends can be hard to find from time to time. I tell you this, I call it the generation of TikTok. That's what we're going through right now. These kids, it's like they need so much information, or I don't know, maybe that's not the right choice of words. There's just with these quick stories, these little 15-second clips that they watch every day, and just some of it's just utter nonsense in my book, but that this has got their attention. Do you what are some of the things that you said you had some of them on the back of your third book there, Tame That Flame? What are some of the things these kids are saying that read the books?
Oh, okay. Um,
Because I really feel like this is a great asset for parents today. Because I talk to parents all the time, and they say, I've just lost my kids. I can't get their attention. They're all over the place, and no matter what I do, and they of course they don't want to go to the old tactics of, like you and I grew up with, go choose the branch off the tree that I'm going to swat you with,
or go
those
find your stick.
yeah, those were the good old days, right, Sharon?
Oh, and I think the thing too is that because things are so expensive today, both parents are working
Yeah.
and they're finding it hard to find time with their children. I think that even if it was once a week that they set a time aside reading, even for 15 minutes with their children, reading a book or reading to them, where the whole family either sits down with their own books or they read back and forth with each other, would really, really help. Because a lot of the parents that have worked with these books have read to their children, because some of the words for a 7-year-old is too difficult, but they feel the truths in the books are important enough for them to read. And the children love them. I
Mhm.
had one parent write in that, well, his nephew just hated reading and read Scaredy and now loves chapter books. And then some of the things that they've written, Hayden wrote, I love Scaredy and reading about Rudy and his fears. I have fears and have been bullied and learned how to face my fears. I like Rudy. I am reading Wandering Ears, and I can't wait for more. And that's for one of the boys. And then a young girl wrote, the book Scaredy is amazing. I just started reading Wandering Ears. So far, it's exciting, and I'm looking forward to reading more. And the last one I love also. I'm not a big reader
Mhm.
or a fan of reading,
Yeah.
but I really got into Scaredy. It is really good. You should read it. So
Fantastic. That had to warm your heart when you got
it
those
did.
back.
It really did. Yes.
Because
Yes.
I've noticed that also with a lot of authors that I've spoken to over the years. They say, I feel like I have this message, but they say during the writing process, right? They mentioned something to the effect of, they go, here I am writing this, and probably nobody's even going to read it. And did you go through that as well, or?
Well, yes, until, Richard really
Hmm.
teaches us how to market. I mean, we have to get that book out there.
Hmm.
Even though I'm being published by a publisher, it's a small press,
Hmm.
and even large presses, they don't push books like they did when we had newspapers. And so we have to have our own book launches. We have to have our own, we go to fairs, we go to any school group that will allow us to come in and read. We, where else have I been? I mean, it's been a busy season, so my mind's a bit of a blur right now, but we're going to the Sunshine Book Fair, which is one of the biggest book fairs in Florida in January.
Nice.
And it's just, you just look for opportunities to go and sell your book. And Barnes and Nobles in the villages and in Ocala, they have local authors um, where you can put your books.
Hmm.
And so they have also showings where we can have our book signing days there also. So you just have to keep looking. But I love the ones where the kids come
Yeah.
because they just are so excited and have questions about the book.
Yeah, because I working in the mental health industry all the years I did, I feel like that's the thing is we're all born with a purpose, and I believe that at my core. And we all come to this earth with something that we could that would benefit ourselves, our families, our communities, and that talent just seems to never come out. It just seems like the world is just, if I can say the word, hell bent. It's hell bent on destroying that creativity, and that's why I feel it's so important for parents to continue to encourage their kids to get creative and bring these
Yes,
things out. Yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Um, no matter if it's painting, if it's music, if it's writing, if it's reading. I know I to talk to a Girl Scout troop, and we're
Hmm.
going to talk about journaling. Just
Very
have
good.
them write down what happened today, or the sun is shining today, or it's raining today. I mean, just to get a start and to write how you speak. Don't think of big flowery words or anything like that. Just, okay, Mom said that I didn't know what I was doing today.
Yeah.
And or Mom and Dad took me where's someplace, just common things that they talk about. Just write them down like they're speaking. Just write speak, you know.
Hmm.
So
Oh, wow. All right, Sharon, do you have any what would you recommend for parents out there to help them out with their kids? What are your thoughts there?
oh, well, I do not pretend to be an expert,
Yep.
but I do know this. What I know, I
Mhm.
know. What I don't know, I don't know.
Love it. Yeah. You
I
have a
know
doctorate in life.
I know that children need to be loved. I know that children need to have some of their parents' time. And no matter how difficult it is, each day, even if you can give that child 5 or 10 minutes of individual time, that is crucial, you know. And the other thing, because of my Christian faith, I believe that they should be taught Christian principles.
Absolutely.
So,
100% agree with you. I know I learned a parenting tip from an insurance agent of all things a number of years ago. He said, "You know what I've discovered?" He says, "Your kids don't really want you around that much, but when they want you, they want you."
that's right.
So he said,
That's
"What
right.
if your kids come to you with something? Clear your slate. You give them 110% of your focus, because when they need you." And that's been something that I feel has been good for me anyway.
Well, I think that is wonderful advice because these kids, they grow up fast
Mm.
and they grow up fast and they grow away. they get into their little groups, and sometimes you just have to be involved in that little group.
Hmm.
I know that my daughter and her husband um, developed a youth group at their church because their daughter was a teenager, and that group grew. And I mean, those kids did a lot of things. But for parents, it sometimes takes sacrifice, and I understand that. Um, I had a very busy schedule when I was working, and yet, you can't neglect your child. Um, and the fruits have come back because she is helping me now.
Nice.
She does a lot of work for me. She crafts the web,
Mhm.
and she sets up appointments
Mhm.
for us and looks to see where I can do book signings. Whereas I didn't have all that time to do that because I was too busy learning social media. I mean, I never was on Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok
Yeah.
last year.
Yeah.
So I've only been on it a year, and then I tried to develop a YouTube series, and that took a lot of time. And it's
Yeah.
like, when am I going to have time to write? When am I going to have time to do all this other stuff? So she really has been helping me with the marketing, and I am so
Fantastic.
blessed.
Well, we're at that point. Let's tell everybody how they can get a hold of you, how they can find out about the adventures in Lusair, and let's because you mentioned your YouTube channel. And by the way, audience, all of this is listed in the show notes below, so you'll be able to click on Sharon's YouTube channel. Where else can they find you at?
Okay, I'm a Sharon Leino author on Instagram and Sharon Leino on Facebook.
Okay.
And then my books are sold and on Amazon.
Okay. And they're
And
link in the show notes. Yeah, go
okay,
get these books, guys. As I was browsing through them, oh my gosh, I really wished I'd have had these years ago, but especially in today's environment, these kids need these books more than ever.
thank
So
you.
get your copies. Click on they're very affordable, and thank you, Sharon, for writing these. I'm so glad you followed your inspiration and you wrote them.
Well, thank you. And like I always say, it's all God.
Yeah,
God is my director.
awesome.
Yes.
Yes, I believe. I believe. Well,
Thank you for having me. This
oh,
has
you're
been
so
fun.
welcome, Sharon. By the way, audience, our guest today has been Sharon Leino. She is the author of the book series, The Adventures in Lusair. Look them up. Definitely find out more about these books, and if you need to know more, yep, there they are. Woo-hoo, one more showing there. So, Tame That Flame. That's the one I want to read that one. So, well, Sharon, thank you so much for being on with us today. So I'm just going to do a quick wrap up here. Here you are with Brad Neufeld on Resilience Talk. Be sure and tune in to our station. You can get us. You can find us on YouTube and any other major social media network. You can just Google us, Resilience Talk Network. We're all over the place. We're on all major platforms. Find out more about what we do. Join the resilience is what we call it. That's a line my wife came up with, Sharon, and I love it. Join the resilience. Yeah, let's all work together to make this world a better place. You can see us at resiliencetalknetwork.com, or you can find us on YouTube at resiliencetalknetwork.com. But until we meet again, go for everything that you want in life and make it happen. Hello, my friends. This is Brad Neufeld, and I want to thank you for tuning in to the Resilience Talk Network. You can listen to my show, Resilience, every morning, Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. On my show, we will be discussing what it takes for you to overcome the day-to-day challenges that all of us face in life, as well as some of the devastating ones that may lead us to feelings of hopelessness and despair. It's my goal to provide you with the tools and skills that you need to overcome anything that is thrown your way. To find out more about my show, visit our website at www.resiliencetalk.com. That's www.resiliencetalk.com. And as always, until we meet again, go for everything that you want in life and make it happen.